In a world where our friends call us not us united and our enemies call us midnight rain, two dudes must learn to podcast as the Fremen do in order to survive the desert planet of endless content. We don't care how many enemies we have. They'll never be prepared for us. Not us united.
I was just thinking of like a stupid sentence to say, and then, well, welcome to Not Us United, but it didn't work.
And that's how the cocaine found its way to a bear. Anyways.
Apparently, we should go see Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the next Werewolves Within, but we do need to find our Werewolves Within.
There's got to be one a year.
Cocaine Bear has
all the potential for it.
Has some potential for being Werewolves Within. But I almost dare not disgrace the name of Werewolf Within by saying Cocaine Bear.
Really? Why is that?
I feel like the people who made Werewolves Within, I mean, they love
werewolves.
Concession stand popcorn, and
yeah. There's one thing we know about those people.
They love being in the theater, and I just respect that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
it's
Cocaine
unique.
Bear people do, but
I
don't want to make any assumptions, but...
Well, you would think they sprouted their popcorn with a little bit of that white stuff, and I'm not talking about the white cheddar.
Jeez.
Anyways, that was my nickname in high school. Welcome back to Not Us United.
It's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. White cheddar. I'm never going to let you forget that.
Good.
Well, apparently you still haven't forgotten. So I don't know why I need to not forget.
It's been 10 seconds. Nick, why don't you do the intro this week?
I'd love to.
Because every other past week, you've been just railing me because I put the intro in, and you're just like, whoa, you're like the Speed Force.
You're very like, you're just on it. You're just like, people will just be casually talking. You're like, that's awesome. So anyway, welcome to Not Us United. And I'm like, oh, all business. I love this guy.
Why don't you be business for once in your life?
Sure.
Nickamoon.
Sure. Yeah, Nickamoon. Oh, I'd love to be that to be my name forever.
You can do that. You can legally change that. You can still go by Nick.
But I still have to also like live with my wife, who wouldn't want me to be called that.
Well, no, you're just.
Oh, that's true. I could be.
You can
legally...
still go. Yeah. Your nickname. Your real name isn't Nick.
What? Wait, what are you saying? How did you know? No, I'm just kidding.
I've seen your birth certificate. It's hung up on your wall. It's behind you.
Yes, that is true. My first name is Krampus.
Yeah.
Then it's Nicholas. No, okay. So this week, we've got an interesting film. Some could say small.
Oh, wow. That's a good thing you said.
Michael's on one tonight. So even though I'm trying to be all business, it's really hard because...
Yeah, we're switching this week.
He's in blooper mode right now.
Yep.
But honestly, in some ways... This movie's quite large.
Wow.
And this is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
No, I think what you meant to say is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
That is correct, yes. And honestly, you can't spell Ant-Man without Quantumania.
No, I think you can't spell Quantumania without Ant-Man.
Well, to each their own.
Some people look at tomatoes and they say that's a potato.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome to Not United.
The best part about this movie is that somebody had to just come up with the word Quantumania because they're like, dude, Ant-Man is in.
Do you think that came first, or like
it has nothing to do with the story?
Sure.
I mean, technically, there is a quantum realm that's always talked about.
Quantumania.
But it wasn't like Quantumania.
Because I feel like that wasn't part of the marketing until like
crazy
2 weeks
quantum, ago. But I don't know. It just felt a little like, hey, we got it. Because then at the end credits,
they did the
it literally goes Ant-Man, and then the rest of the letters come forward. I'm like, yeah, they did it. You fit Ant-Man in Quantumania.
I swore that wasn't a thing until someone on Twitter pointed it out.
Like brought it into existence.
So they told that was an accident.
You think so?
I 100% agree that was an accident.
Nah. It was from the start. They're like, hear me out. Ant-Man, but throw a few more letters.
Yeah.
Quantumania.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're still listening, God bless you.
Yeah.
We are Not Us United. We exist to see cinema a little differently. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
Dead air.
Basically half of good and the bad, the ugly. Dead air.
That's true. I don't know. We just like to not that we purposefully try to twist and like make it seem different, but we just really like talking about it.
We do,
and we like
talking
having different people on here to talk about it. And so I feel like every episode is just, it's a buckshot of a podcast.
Yeah.
It's got a spread, baby.
This is interesting because we mentioned this was the first podcast in probably a few weeks, maybe even a month, that it's just the two of us, Nick. We can make it if we try.
That's true. We're empty nesters again.
Yeah,
and now we're kind of like, how do we do this?
But I also think there's no barrier now. There's nothing in between me and you and our opinions.
There's nothing keeping us polite or like, yes, third guest.
Yeah.
I agree. Not that we're fake around our guests, but there's definitely a level of like, in order to keep conversation going, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But with each other, dude, just cutthroat. I don't care if you like hate me by the end of this or if you love me. It's going to happen.
It's going to be both.
Yeah.
Porque no los dos.
True. So are you ready to finally talk about this?
No, I'm
Marvel
not.
movie?
Because, Nick, you texted me this morning, and what did you say? I don't know. We were talking about the podcast, and I'm like, I'm excited. Oh, I feel like this is going to get a little ranty in this episode, because I feel like we're just going to go down a lot of rabbit holes. And you replied with, ranty as in the fact that we're going to talk about how this is the greatest Marvel movie in the top 5 Marvel movies of all time. And I said, uh-oh.
Listen, you can't spell MCU without Ant-Man, all right? That's what I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Now, is this movie top 5 criteria? Like
10 hours ago, you said
is
so.
It in the, hold on. Don't out me. I was trolling you. It's not in the top 5.
It's the top 10?
No.
It's top 15.
Stop. Don't.
Is it in the top 30?
We are still reviewing this movie
fine.
first. But, no, it is not in the top 5.
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean, so far, we've only had one character make it out of the trilogies, which was Thor. He had like a 4th movie. But Ant-Man is technically like
still trilogy.
Ending his trilogy, perhaps. I don't know.
If you want to call it that.
But there's still more story to be told, so I'm interested to see where this lands. But spoiler free, let's try our best.
Yeah, give a little rundown of Ant-Man.
Yeah. Okay. So last we knew about Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man 2.0. The first one being Hank Pym, of course, played by the Michael Douglas. Sir Michael Douglas, the Knight Michael Douglas, I assume. No, he's not British. But because he would be if he could.
But he's not.
I know, but honorary. Like Nicolas Cage is probably
Do you have to be British to be knighted?
That's a good question.
I don't think you do.
I feel like you do.
Why?
Because I can't think of anyone who isn't. It's like Elton John and like Michael Caine are like the only
I know like
two
Ian
knights.
McKellen and stuff, but they're all British.
Yeah, they're all British. I think you have to be like literally a citizen of
the country that you
thy
united.
queens.
Thy queen.
Thy queen's gambit.
Thy kings. Thy kings now.
Oh, I'm mistaken. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. At the time of this recording.
Yeah. Like what, 6 months ago that happened? I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're right. We are going to get on some rants. It's just going to unfortunately be about really stupid stuff like Michael Douglas being not British.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott Lang was under house arrest for a while due to his events in Civil War.
That's right.
Siding with Captain America, he didn't escape. Captain America broke everyone out, and then he technically got put on house arrest or something.
Yeah.
It was weird. I don't know how that works, where Cap's like, you're free, and they're like, but two of you are not, and it's only the 2 people who like are just regular humans who have stuff. So it was Hawkeye and him. And then he gets sucked into the quantum realm for
Reasons.
Infinity War time period.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone gets dusted, so he gets stuck in there. And then 5 years later, he is back for Avengers Endgame. All that happens. Anyway, now he is writing a book, and he is an author.
Yep.
About his adventures of being an average Avenger, but still being awesome.
That's right.
And his daughter, Cassie, is about to play a bigger role. She has been recasted since Endgame for some reason. Probably wanted to get a more popular actress in there for some reason, but...
what else is she in? Do we know?
The girl who plays Cassie in this one, Catherine Newton, I think is her name. she was in been in some things more than the previous actress in Endgame.
So she's a little popular.
Yeah, I guess they just recasted her because she was going to play a bigger role. I was kind of upset about it when I first heard it, because I was like, hey, they had a really touching moment in Endgame.
And apparently, like, the actress didn't know that she wasn't she was getting recasted. Like, she found it out on Twitter when they announced who the new Cassidy was, and was just like, oh, I thought that was my job.
Yeah. So that was kind of a weird way to start this, like, pre-production movie off. But what else can I say without spoiling? Cassie really looks up to her dad and missed him in his 5 years of absence due to the snap. And so she got really smart, because in Marvel, baby, if you have 5 years, no matter what your age is, you can become whatever.
Yes.
Which, hey, isn't like super far off. I think if you're dedicated, you can probably do stuff like that. But she has studied the quantum realm and is super excited. And let's just say something gets them into the quantum realm and chaos ensues. And you'll want to remember that Hank Pym's wife, Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, she spent like 30 years down there in the previous film because she went subatomic to like stop a missile from hitting something in a mission.
Very important things.
So she's like the most
time spent.
Yeah, spent in quantum. And honestly, and she's played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, killed it. And I think this was awesome to have Janet Van Dyne be more than just a plot device. Because for the longest time, it was just like, you're the thing that's in the quantum realm. Right. You're the thing that's like finally out of the quantum realm. And now you're here. And like, but like, she gets a chance to really shine.
Sure. Shine is an interesting word.
Well, honestly, though, like, this movie being called Ant-Man and the Wasp, I kind of feel off about that, because it almost feels like it's Ant-Man kind of does his thing, and then Janet Van Dyne does her thing. And
which
so
still is the Wasp.
Technically a Wasp.
Nice.
But I feel like that Wasp gets way more.
She has like 10 lines of dialogue.
Mm-hmm. So Hope Van Dyne Wasp is barely in the movie, but Janet Van Dyne, I feel like, actually has a pretty substantial role to play.
For sure.
And actually, it's like super interesting. That's one of my like actual pros of this movie. But anyway, they run into a new villain. I'm not going to get into that yet, but he's going to be a big deal. And they got to figure out how to get out of the quantum realm.
How to get big.
That's kind of the synopsis.
Yeah, that's a great synopsis.
But they are in a different part of the quantum realm. It's like a pocket dimension. So for all you people who are like, well, when he went into the quantum realm before, he just like did the large thing and like came out. This is like further down. Right. So you can't just turn big and get out. Actually, you can turn big in this pocket dimension, and it's like you just are big there. You don't like go out of subatomic stuff. So for all the fact checkers,
I'm like, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's all hand wavy anyways.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an okay synopsis?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Thanks. Jeez. That's brutally honest.
No, it was good. I let's get into what our thoughts are about this movie.
Sure.
I guess I'll start because you did the synopsis.
Okay.
I'm pretty torn, much like Ant-Man was in something. Insert good joke here.
Nice.
It's just like I wanted to like this movie.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like the wacky, weird stuff going on. But it didn't hit for me, man.
Yeah.
It didn't hit at all.
Dang.
I'm pretty lukewarm on it. I watched it and I'm like, okay, this is happening. And then at the end I was like, okay. I'm glad this happened. Like, it's completely neutral for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting film in that it really toes the line of being non-essential Marvel and also essential Marvel.
The most important thing in the universe.
It's like it is both trying to be ridiculous in Ant-Man, but it's also bearing the weight of like example like Captain America film that like moves the entire Avengers plot at the same time without losing the heart of what is Ant-Man, which is just wacky. And there is a previous movie that does kind of do this, but it does it much better, and I would say that that's Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
Sure.
In that it's similar, that it touches on big villain.
Right.
But there's a sub-villain that's working under Thanos.
Yeah, sub.
And it's purely a comedy. While still touching on Thanos being kind of a big deal. But because he's never physically present, I feel like they can kind of still be hilarious the whole time, because you're not dealing with a guy who's doing genocide everywhere.
Sure.
You know, like, so like it's fine. Here, however, you get this like intimate interaction between an Avenger and the new Thanos, which would be, I don't know, we can talk about him, right?
I mean, he was pretty much in the trailer.
Yeah, okay. There's this new guy named Kang. We'll just go with that. But he, if you haven't watched like certain Disney stuff or know anything about Kang, he's going to be a big deal. He's going to be the next Thanos. Like, they're building towards that. So just know that. But he has to like intimately like interact with him. So you have this like incredibly serious subplot of like, oh shit, if this guy gets out,
it's over.
Like, guys, like, you thought the Thanos snap was bad. No. Like, Kang, like, respectfully, like, I still think Thanos is great. I still think that whole plot makes sense. It's perfect. It's awesome. But knowing what Kang can do kind of, like, makes Thanos almost, like, pale in comparison of, like, just pure destruction.
Power,
and you only have Ant-Man up against him. So you have, like, this funny, like, weird tug of war where you're like, this is a silly movie, but we also have to stop arguably the most powerful villain we've had thus far.
Right.
And he's amassed quite a bit of power. So I think if it doesn't do that delicate dance correctly, it probably makes you feel like what you're feeling, where you're like, dang, this is going down as, like, very important movie in the MCU. Like, it is a chapter that needs to be read. But there are parts of this movie that feel like if you miss it, it's totally fine. There are characters that you don't have to worry about in this movie. There are things like So I totally get where you're coming from.
To that point, it's like, it doesn't even, for me, like, even felt like an Ant-Man movie. Which is, and like, even in like Civil War, I was like, oh no, this is a Captain America movie.
Correct.
And in like Guardians, it's a Guardians movie that has furthering plot lines. It's like, this is like, we ragged on Black Panther for being like, oh, hey, they're just, you know, pushing forward like Disney things. That was like my biggest qualm with the movie. But this is like 50% of like, it's carrying the load of like, here's Kang, and then we have to make Kang beatable, but also not. But also like,
how do you power scale him where it doesn't launch directly into Avengers yet, and there's still some time? Because it almost feels like Disney's like, we got to get like all of our pieces like ready, because as soon as Kang shows up, we can't be like, oh, and then 5 years later we were ready to finally take him down.
Right.
Like, once he comes out, once he's uncaged, once he's let loose, it's over. Like, stuff has to happen or we lose. Like, they did a good job of at least setting that up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they kind of cut it short, I feel like, because he shouldn't have probably been the main villain of this movie.
No, I don't think so. I also just think, besides all the King stuff, I didn't think the Ant-Man stuff was very interesting at all. It was just like, I think just tone-wise, I think it wasn't very compelling. It just, everything felt, my synopsis of the movie, it just felt very flat. Like, it just felt like, and that includes the acting on screen, that includes the visually, that includes what the heck we're even doing, that includes them getting into the quantum realm, that includes them in the quantum realm. And like, I don't think any of the acting, except for Jonathan Majors, who is killing it every second he's on screen. He's amazing. Yeah. Everyone else is bad.
There is one other performance that I think is top notch, but
did you think it was Michelle Pfeiffer?
No.
Oh,
no. We'll all get to
the
it.
one. Yeah, sure.
Wait, what?
We'll get there. It just felt like, and look, there's so much going on with like the cinema or like the effects industry, and they don't get paid enough, and they don't have enough time to do all this stuff.
Did you think it looked really bad?
Yeah.
You did?
I think it felt like the lighting was off, and it felt like it felt like I'm saying a line. And then there's like, now you say your line, but you have no idea what you're looking at.
Got it.
It just felt like, and it didn't. Nothing felt tangible. And I understand like this is a mythical world that we're supposed to get down into.
CGI, basically.
I understand that.
Right.
I totally understand that. But like, you go back and you look at like Guardians and stuff, and that's got some wacky stuff. You go back and you look at, okay, I had to bring it up. Avatar. Obviously, that took 13 years to make. But everything in that world, I never for a second thought, that's not real.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier. They only have 4 fingers, so like it's a lot less work.
Okay, shut up. Just kidding. This one had there was a dude without holes in this one. Yeah, you got 0 holes.
I figured you'd like him. Best acting by far.
Yeah,
that's actually the same guy
the Russian guy, right? Yeah. From
and there was no Louise, which kind of sucked. Okay, because that's like the heart of Ant-Man.
We were missing Louise.
Yeah,
hardcore. I would just pull him in there.
He would have been hilarious, even just to give a recap of what's happened since Endgame.
Yeah, give him like 5 minutes. I would like there was a petition for him to recap everything before Endgame.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Just do it. Just do something like that.
It's insane.
This was the time to do it.
It would have given it literally a 1.5.
Seriously,
scoring. Just like it would be,
or like throw him into the world, and like I would have loved him interacting with a lot of the things going on here, because I don't think there's a reaction by anyone in the quantum world. Like, I know you guys see some crazy stuff, but like if you see this and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
There was no reaction because I don't think people really knew what they were seeing, and that's the problem. And so it's just interesting take where I felt like a lot of the scenes were flat. Everything that wasn't Jonathan Majors, I thought was just kind of boring. And I like Ant-Man, and interesting enough, like Grace was watching Ant-Man 2, and I came home, and she was like, and I wasn't super hot on that movie, but watching it, I'm like, oh, this is just fun.
Yeah.
Like, I know it wasn't super, like, at the time, I was like, oh, wait, we're waiting for Endgame and all that stuff. But it felt like everything was tangible. There's that action scene where she's like, Wasp is fighting in the kitchen, and she's like putting like salt and pepper shakers bigger, and like they're messing around with the big growing things, and none of that really happens in this movie.
Yeah, it's
just like you kind of get big, and that's it. But what I love about Ant-Man is like the shrinking cars, and like making like all these other things big that are small, things that are small that are big, and like
I get what you're saying.
It just felt like it felt like a cog in the machine.
Yeah, no, I think this one. There's a few movies that, because of how do I want to put this? I think the MCU was very narrow for a while, so the storytelling was like pretty condensed, and it's like, hey, there will be very few movies up until Infinity War and Endgame that aren't essential viewing, because there's only going to be 2 a year. And then after Endgame and Disney Plus comes out, they go, let's go as wide as possible.
Yeah.
Like, we've never gone wide before. Let's just start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think they created this, like, unnatural, like, amount of content. I was telling my cousin Jake this the other night. I was like, that Bo Burnham song of, like,
here comes the content.
Here's Daddy made you your content. You know, just like, here's your content, open wide. That's what the MCU did for like the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Was here's content, here's content, here's content. Oh, wait, that wasn't satisfying to you because we haven't really told you what's in store.
Yeah.
We've just said, isn't it cool we made this show? Isn't it cool we made another movie? Isn't it cool? And we're like, yeah, but like, what's it going for? And they're like, oh, wait, we didn't think about this. And now 3 movies have to bear unfathomable weight to move this thing forward, that it pigeonholes these movies. Like, there have been crossovers, there have been team-ups, and like Ant-Man by himself was just like, I got this, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't make any sense why there couldn't be some allies involved. It just felt very, I think you're right, it felt like a weird combination of there could have been more there to like kind of make all this stuff make sense, and they tried to really make this family thing the heart of this film. And I just don't think it quite worked for me because, one, I was already kind of pissed off because it's like not even the same Cassie. So it was like you had this beautiful, touching moment in Endgame where like there's not even a whole lot going on. It's just them going like, I haven't seen you in 5 years. How would a father react to seeing his daughter grown up?
Mm-hmm.
Two, we have 15 minutes to get some sort of connection because we're about to go into the quantum realm for an hour and a half. And that's what this movie was. And so it was like, boom, 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 family stuff, I care, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we got to go. And it just like didn't hit because I've missed how much he loves Cassie because we haven't talked about it since like the first movie.
Sure.
And back then it was super cute. He had this weird, quirky relationship with her. He'd get her like an ugly toy and it was hilarious. And it's like, this is the heart of what we were supposed to believe. But that was like 10 years ago. And so like, I don't remember that. And it almost felt like this was trying to like, hey, remember Ant-Man 1, like father-daughter stuff. And it's like, you could have spent 20 more minutes doing father-daughter stuff and then do Quantum Realm, you know, or something.
I think that's the other thing too. Like, this is a 2-hour movie. And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good pace. And I just felt like, where did the time go in this movie? It just didn't feel like...
A lot of it had to go to Kang. I mean, unfortunately. And so...
Which is fine. And I enjoy the idea of Kang.
Yeah, it's some of the best parts.
I enjoy the idea of Kang, and I enjoy the idea of Kang being in the Quantum Realm. And I'm like, I agree. The only way to get him, Ant-Man makes the most sense to get someone out of the quantum, you know, like to interact with someone who's down there. But it just felt like, I don't know, man. I just felt like it was just like, I think this is my feeling is a combination of, I was just lukewarm on this entire Phase 4. Really, I enjoyed Far From Home. I think Shang-Chi was one of my favorites, and I really enjoyed Black Panther.
And those are my top Far From Home, you mean No Way Home?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
they both were technically... No, they weren't. Far From Home was the end of Phase 3.
The one with the multiple Spider-Mans.
Yes.
And then everything else, like Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, a lot of the movies, I'm just like, Eternals, it's just like, man, like, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
Well, yeah, there was no single thread that they were pulling. They were just making threads.
I don't... And I like, it's hard because I like aspects of all those other films, but I don't like aspects of a lot of those films as well, where this just felt like we're going, and it's happening, and I'm like, okay, that happened. I'm ready for Kang, and it just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like, for the past few years, it just felt like a hamster spinning in a circle.
Yes.
And that's all that's been happening, and even then, when we finally get some Kang stuff, I'm like, okay, get ready for Kang. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for Kang. It's like, I don't know, man.
No, I get you. No, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think that this movie would have been saved if like 6 movies had come out total in Phase 4. It wasn't like the content made this like have unreal expectations. I think overall you are correct in how you feel about this movie. But I think we're ready. Like, I think we're ready for, let's do some stuff, or let's stop creating all these characters and still have them act like there's these invisible force fields that keep them away from each other. The Quantum Realm has been interacted with by everyone that's important in the MCU at this point.
I guess that's fair.
Apart from like Spider-Man and the Guardians, who are like in space. So like whatever. Like, and Spider-Man's dealt with the multiverse. So like, you could have him team up with someone. You could make this like a crossover, because like there were parts of this movie that felt almost like Endgame level threat, and it's just Ant-Man and a bunch of people we don't care about that are in this quantum realm. And so there's some stuff like, and I'll get into it in the spoilers. There's stuff that I like love about this movie if it was done in a way that I think would have just hit better. But there's still just a lot of things that's like, oh man, I don't know if this...
It's really hit it. I think to your point of releasing so much stuff wouldn't have helped this movie. I think it would have helped this movie if less stuff came out. Because I think...
Well, we would have gotten a different movie. That could have helped it.
Yes, agreed. I think like it just feels like, and that's what I've been feeling with like Multiverse and Love and Thunder particularly. It feels flat. It feels just like it doesn't feel right. I don't think anything is particularly tangible with the look of everything. And sure, it's the CG or just the color grading or just the lighting, and it's like I just don't feel like those people are not in a room, probably even with each other. Like this guy recorded on a Tuesday and then they recorded on a Saturday. It feels like just them stitching things together because they have to make a product and they have to get Kang out there and they have to make a fourth Thor movie, and they have to make another Doctor Strange. And okay, here's Chavez and here's like the multiverse. And it's just like, oh, okay, you're just making stuff to make stuff. And I think for me, this was kind of a breaking point.
Oh, nice.
And so
we will no longer be reviewing.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited about Kang. I'm excited about Loki season 2. I'm excited about a lot of these things.
Yes.
And I've watched everything besides Ms. Marvel from the new phases. And overall, I enjoy it. It's good. I think everything's watchable. Yeah. But it just feels like you're just giving me
product.
Yeah.
Content.
You're just giving me, open. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great.
I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. You're just making content, and I'm like, I'm eating it up, but I'm like, I don't want this.
I think, like, a good example of I'm curious to see how this plays out, like, in the future, but, like, when we saw Rob Pattinson's Batman last year, there was something so refreshing about, yes, it is Batman. There is baggage there. Like, we've seen a lot of Batman. But there was something refreshing of, like, I don't have to know shit about this movie before coming into it. I don't have to have this explained to me. There's no Easter eggs. There's no nothing. It's just refreshing. And I know the MCU can't function like that anymore. I know they can't, like, make hey, just come check out this one movie if you haven't seen anything in 10 years. It'll all be fine, but there's just something that like what you said feels pure about it. There are times in these movies now, because it has such a weight to bear on getting from point A to point B, that even some of the characters make decisions in this film that are like predictable, that aren't even predictable for their character. It's just predictable because you know where the story has to go. And so I think they have trained us for so long to like look for all the things, get ready for hints, all these things, and like, who could it be? How, like, what's going to happen next? And then they just went too wide and it didn't build towards anything and it just was full of stuff. And we were like, okay, well, now the puzzle's gone. We know where this is going. And now it's just side quests until we get to the main objective, and we already know what's going to happen when we get there. So can we just get there? It almost feels like, there's like this restlessness to it because we now just have to watch people go through the motions, even though we know where it's going to end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it.
No, I think that is part of it, and just like, I think I don't know what they did after. Like I think it has a combination to do with. I thought it was COVID. I thought it was like the filming in COVID was just like, you had to do what you had to do, and I get that. Like you had to like think of creative ways to film it, but like now we're like, this movie kind of confirms like I just don't think the product. I don't think they care anymore. Like I just don't. They're just like throwing it out there, and I'm like, great. And it's not like that. I deserve a better Ant-Man sequel. Yeah. Because like I'm still gonna watch it. I still like to talk about it. I'm still excited for what's coming. And I mean, like we said, like we got Endgame. Great. I don't need anything else. It's true. Yeah. But this movie is just
doesn't
nothing.
mean that we have to keep being in love with it.
Yeah. I like it. I like the people in it. I watched it for 2 hours and it's done.
Yeah. No, I get you.
That's it. That's all this movie is to me.
Yeah. No, this is not one that I'm like, oh man, I gotta revisit this one, Let's do a quick score and then let's get into like the nitty gritty of it to talk about specifics, because there is some cool, like, the one thing that was really refreshing about this movie though, I did feel like, was there wasn't a huge cluster of like Easter eggs that I had to
Sure,
find.
that's great. Yeah.
Everything was just, hey, it's Ant-Man. Here's the quantum realm. We're not going to hide anything in here. Let's just go.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
fair.
did. Whereas a lot of like Marvel stuff has been like, they spend the camera looks at somebody just like 1 second too long, and you're like, I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah.
What was that? And then
Yeah.
it's like, that's the great almighty Thor version. Blah 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 blah. He'll show up in 10 movies, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
great. Yeah, exactly.
Ant-Man did none of that, which is
That's good.
ironic
That's
because
good.
it could have just said, this could have been Easter egg heaven in the quantum realm. Nothing matters. There are no rules. So that was kind of refreshing. Anyway, score. Why don't you start? Because I want to leave you waiting for what I'm going to give it.
I think based off just my reaction and then just kind of thinking through it, I'm mostly negative, but it's just become my feeling at the end of the movie
It's
was
okay
nothing.
If you give it a low score.
I'm giving it a 5 because it was just nothing.
5, yes.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm excited about things. I think positives are Jonathan Major, and some of the stuff was pretty cool. And I think the weirdness was, I liked it being in this wacky, weird world. That was cool. I like some things, but I am going to sound more negative
100%.
than I am, because it's just like, overall, my feeling of the movie was nothing. And I think a 5 reflects that.
Thanks. I'm giving it the same thing.
What?
Yeah. Here's what I'll say though. The 5 points that I'm giving it, I was laughing my butt off at parts of this movie, and it just got wacky, and the parts that were like insane were insane. So like the 5 points that I like it, I like love it. And then the 5 points that I don't like it are basically kind of similar to how you feel, but also just like, yeah, that's a bummer. Like there's lots of room for improvement that I like, even just on the Ant-Man side of things that could have happened that I would have really liked. So I'm with you there.
That's insane. I'm going to be far more negative about this movie than you are. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, maybe. You might be more vocal about it, but I agree with you. Like, I can't, like, argue against a lot of the things that you're saying, even if I, like, wanted to just troll you and be like, but, blah, blah, blah. No, like, you're right. It's a 5, for sure.
Okay.
And I thought that was actually kind of generous of you, so.
I thought it was too.
Anyway, one thing I do want to just get out there that I loved.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania.
Yeah, nice. Got him.
MODOK was 10 out of 10.
Oh, you did like MODOK.
MODOK was insane. It
Really?
was. This is the only way that this character could have ever worked. This character is dumb as hell. This character only belongs in comic books, and they freaking nailed it.
Yeah, okay.
He is stupid, and he's dumb, and it's perfect that he showed up, and it's even more perfect that it's Yellow Jacket.
Oh, I loved that. I did like
brilliant.
that a lot.
Like,
yeah.
his body like shriveled up and shrank, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. I don't even think they put 2 and 2 together, but they're like, his helmet stayed alive, and all of his things are really small. And it's like, of course, because he got shrunk from. Oh, dude,
It
and
is
yes,
brilliant.
I know the like CGI of just like zoomed in face, but MODOK
supposed to be
is
ugly.
stupid.
Yeah.
Like I can't preface this enough. MODOK is so dumb, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
I love what they did.
I agree. I like what they did. I agree. Like, I think that this, us watching it, I'm like, comics are really dumb, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. Like they don't take themselves so seriously that MODOK couldn't exist in the MCU.
Right.
And that's why I liked it. They still gave him like the polished MCU
I like that a lot. That
villain
looked good.
look.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense, because that thing flying at you and it just being a face is so stupid. But dude, it was brilliant.
I think the design, and
Yes.
I'm fine with the wide face look. Like, he's supposed to be an ugly looking guy.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
literally
get it.
just a big face.
Yeah, I get it. It's funny. I think it's so dumb. But like, I think putting him in this movie is weird.
Sure.
I think everything about him I like, but him being like this henchman of Kang feels a little awkward. I would have kind of preferred it almost being just a MODOK movie. If there
Sure.
if there was no Kang setup, make it a MODOK movie, make it an AIM movie.
Definitely.
And do that, and I would love this movie way more. So maybe AIM was all these people in the quantum realm, and then they come up and whatever.
That's fine too, yeah. I just think if they would have done MODOK like in the real world, stupid freaking movie. Like, I think it was perfect that they made it tied to the quantum realm. It just made it so much more believable that this character could even exist. Because you're sitting here going, like, you're prefaced with, like, a weird, sludgy guy, a bunch of, like...
Got no holes,
weird, yeah, the guy who has no holes. Like, the Resistance people, you know, like... This is very, like, the most Guardians movie apart from the Guardians. You know, like, so... Him
in it was pretty good. I liked it.
I just think... I was laughing my ass off so much.
I love the line where it's like, he dies. And it's like, Scott's like, a lot has happened today.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm like,
so, yeah, there's parts where, like, the humor, I think, kills it. And one of those ways is MODOK for me.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. Why would Kang use him? Whatever.
It's not a big deal.
He immediately, like, just craps on him as soon as he can, though. Like, he, like, talks. He's like, don't ever talk when I'm in the room. And you're just like, okay, Kang, okay, I've got it. And dude, okay, we can stop talking about MODOK because whatever. No one should talk about MODOK that much. It's such a stupid character, but I just love how they did it. And Darren being his, and he dies, and he's like, at least I died in an adventure. And you're just like, dude, this is so good. It's so stupid. Oh, it's so
How
bad.
else do you do that character? How else do you do it?
I don't. And he's like, I don't know who I am. Tell me what to be. You know, he's just like so into like insecure. Oh, it's perfect, man. It's perfect. Anyway, I want to do an episode on MODOK. Let's just get right into the Kang of it all. You know, yeah. Jonathan Majors was the right choice.
He left no crumbs.
Always been the right choice. In Loki, he was the right choice. In this, he's the right choice. And I think for the foreseeable future, we're about to see a lot more Jonathan Majors.
Which is going to be nuts. Like, he signed on for way more than he should have.
Yeah.
Because he has to act like 16,000 different people.
Is actually doing it.
Like, oh,
yeah, dude.
I'm like, dude, you're crushing it.
So that's why I'm like, dude, this is a 5 out of 10 movie. I don't even know if you need to watch it, but the parts that you like should watch, dude, like it's incredible. Like they're doing some like comic book stuff that's epic.
No, yeah, that's the thing. I think this movie leans into like, dude, this is a comic book movie, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, dude. Like it gets nuts, and I'm parts, like, dude, okay, the ant army, I'm all about.
I know.
That.
I was so conflicted watching this because I looked over at Kate, and you could just tell, like, she's like, this is garbage, and I was like, yes, 100% agree with you, but like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, there's parts where you're just like, dude, yes, like ants, like it's always been about the ants.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, dude,
it's so funny. It's just a throwaway line to be like, oh yeah, the ants are smart now, and then it's just like whatever, and then they go.
But they went through the quantum realm in like such a
1,000 years, and I'm just like,
oh, they're super ants.
Yeah, I'm like, dude,
hell yeah,
dude, I'm all about the ant army. Like, that was probably one of my favorite things. I'm like, of course, there's a giant ant army.
Yeah. My cousin hasn't seen it yet, but he's a huge Rick and Morty fan. And I wanted to just be like, if I could describe this movie to you, 1 million ants.
Yeah.
Because that's a character in Rick and Morty. And,
well, then they get a few Rick and Morty writers on in this movie?
That could be. Honestly, like, if you're a Rick and Morty fan, Kang is Rick.
Yeah, fair. No, it's it's a council
like, if you've watched any Rick and Morty, that's exactly who Kang is. Like, if anything, Rick might be based off of Kang the Conqueror. I have no idea. But, like, it literally feels the exact same. Yeah. Like, there's versions of him that suck and they, like, exile him. There's parts that, like, there's ones that they fear and are like, we need to stay away from this one. It's insane. There's just so many versions of him. So, anyway.
I felt like, okay. There's so much to talk about. I felt like, okay, let's stick on Kang.
Not enough time.
And let's stick on Kang for a second. It's like, okay, this exact Kang, this version of Kang. Do you felt he was like, because I've heard some people say like, oh, he's kind of like an anti-hero, that he's like destroying the worlds to kind of save the worlds. So is he kind of like is he the one who remains? Maybe from Loki, is he like the one that's destroying worlds so that not everyone dies?
Yeah. So this is tricky because I was under the assumption that this was Kang the Conqueror because he's got the blue helmet.
Right.
This is it. This is the one.
They say conquer, yeah.
This is the bad one. And he lies and deceives and he makes promises that he doesn't keep. But at the same time, he's like, what comes after me is much worse. So it's like, is it better for he does seem to be the one that wants to become the one who remains, where there is just one timeline. And we know from Loki that was like what he thought was the best version, because if millions and trillions of Kangs exist, it will always end badly. So it's really tricky because, like, in the end, you're like, did we stop the right one or did we stop
that
the bad
existential
one?
crisis that Scott has is like, whoa, that was great. Loved it.
And it makes you wonder, like, maybe it would have been much worse if he let him go, but it's still going to be bad because this is going to allow the Kangs to know that somebody can actually fight them. So who knows what's worse? The one who would have killed all of the Kangs probably is pretty bad. But now you have all the Kangs.
Well, so the problem moving forward, I think, is how do you create a villain that's unstoppable?
Correct.
And have 16,000 of them?
Correct.
Like, how do you do that?
That's where I'm still excited, because anytime Marvel has had to actually, like, put their money where their mouth is and be like, hey, we got to the Thanos movie, time to do Thanos.
It's fantastic.
They did it.
Yeah.
And it's like really good, right? Like,
when
really
you get all the characters in there, when you get like all the money, when you like,
it finally shows.
The King Chronicles is gonna be good. Like,
yes.
I have no doubt of that.
Yeah. But they're gonna have to, like, it's gonna have to be something just absurd. Like, the movie's gonna have to have a cold open where, like, we're just seeing Avengers getting obliterated. And, like, ours just haven't gotten attacked yet or something, and, like, they get at least a warning.
Oh, yeah, give us, like, a 15-minute cold open where, like, a different Avengers team
Tom
gets
Cruise
wiped.
is all the characters.
Oh,
let's go! Ah! Nicolas Cage, Ghost Rider, just do it all.
That's the point where you get 90s
100%
Avengers.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Anyway, but no, I have no idea. I have no idea how you do this correctly, but the fact that they chose to do it, there must be an idea.
There's a plan, yeah.
But it is hard when, like, leading up to Thanos, there's very few movies I can think of that were like, that sucked. I don't know what you guys were doing. Leading up to Kang, I'm like, oh, the majority of your films have had nothing to do with this. And what is, Jennifer Walters, attorney at law, going to do against Kang the Conqueror? Like, they haven't pieced enough together for me to be like, our Earth is ready, Kang. Come after us. like, they haven't done anything to tie us together. Like,
yeah, but the Eternals are there.
Our Eternals are still here, Kang. Come at us.
Well, most of them are. Some of them flew away in a triangle.
Like, there's nothing. Like, they did such a good job of setting up how powerful Kang is. The only downside was that he lost in a fist fight, which kind of sucked. But, and I want to get in on the ending because that was probably my least favorite part of this movie. But, yeah, like, they did such a good job of, like, this guy will amass an empire wherever he's at. Now, what will he do if he's already amassed an empire of himself? And, like, it's the Avengers threat is here, but they have done a very poor job of making us seem like we have any fighting chance.
Because also then it's just like, everything in phases 1 to 3 was like, yeah, there was a bad movie or two, but it wasn't like anything connected to Thanos.
Correct.
It was like, oh, I'm so ready for Thanos. Here's Kang. Oh, you didn't like that?
Yeah. And now here's a million of him. Good luck. So,
because I also didn't feel like Kang was unbeatable. It just felt like the power struggles were there, and I didn't necessarily like his faceless army. That's not very interesting. There's just a bunch of robots, but aren't there like humans?
I thought it was going to be revealed that they were all Kangs.
Oh, well, that'd be kind of cool.
That would have been sick.
But like, it was just like, I don't know.
No, I agree. He should not have. It's hard because the best part of this movie is Kang, but he probably just shouldn't have been in this movie because it like allowed us to defeat a version of this and like give us false hope that almost is like makes seeing a Colosseum filled with him not that scary because none of them were as focused at least in that shot, as this one was.
Mm-hmm.
So are we just taking on like a bunch of like D-class Kangs?
I think that's gonna have to be it. Where it's like there's the 3 main ones. Those are like your
The council, whatever.
You got your main 3 bad guys.
If you take them out, then you can take the rest of them out.
No,
so
not even that. It was just like there's like a Kang that's like is pretty good, and he can maybe do some mind stuff and shoot lasers. Like that's gonna be your base Kang.
I also think there will be an ally Kang at some point. There will probably be
cool.
like a sympathizer Kang that's like, hey, these guys suck, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll be your insider, and that could be like, isn't one of them Reed Richards' son?
Well, isn't he supposed to be? Like that's like
or is all of
at
him
least one of the
Reed
timeline
Richards?
is supposed to be him. Yeah.
So that could be like the Fantastic Four's version is like the one that can help him or something.
Sure, that'd be kind of sick.
Good tie-in or something.
Yeah, I just felt like okay, so we have the main focus of Kang and like his world, which is fine. And like overall, sure, good. But I felt like what I wanted more from this film was just the wackiness. If we go into the quantum realm, I just felt like we didn't get enough of like, oh, this is different. There's a whole culture here. There's a whole world here. We just got like, Kang bad. We have rebellions.
Correct.
It's just like,
Faceless rebellion.
yeah, it's just like, okay, I kind of like
characterless rebellion.
Yeah,
I should say,
I'm like, yeah, cool. You guys lost your home. I get it. But like the main leader chick was cool, I guess. The Chidi Ngonia from The Good Place, the telepath. I'm like, let's go, my guy. But other than that, I do not care about you.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just like, I mean, the buildings were cool. The buildings that were alive. I'm like, that's a cool concept. But it's just like, and I like the art. The character design of this movie is excellent.
For as much time as we spent in the quantum realm, we didn't really spend time in the quantum realm.
I'm like, what's different about the quantum realm than a Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, what's different than like, okay, we're at a space bar. Bill Murray's here. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like we were like, this is the quantum realm.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And it was kind of cool that we at least got to finally touch on Janet Van Dyne's time here.
Yeah.
I did like that she got more to do, but it still felt like I bet there were like 6 scenes in the first hour where it's like she like looks off to the distance and it's like, it's him.
I hated that.
It's him.
I was so mad.
I'll tell you about him when we have a chance.
Oh,
but
it was the stupidest thing in the world.
Him.
That's
like,
where I'm like,
doing?
Dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Just like she's like, I can't tell you now. Also, it's him. It's like, dude, we know it's Kang.
Yeah, like
just say the name.
Already here, yeah.
Just say my name.
There's something I never told you. Let's keep walking.
Yeah,
it's like, what's going on?
They did that so much, and I
was
way
too much. Yeah.
I was frustrated. I was so mad at that. I'm like, that's just lazy.
And it's not like a long movie. Like it's maybe you can maybe shave some of this off, but like there were scenes in that first hour where it's like we can't tell you who Kang is yet. We want him to tell you that or whatever.
You can do that.
I did like their backstory though, where she's like, sweet connection.
Loved it.
There's something about like isolation. I think it gave us a chance to see how manipulative he can be. For someone who is so outside of time, he's still not like disconnected from his skills at persuading people to do his bidding. And I think her isolation showed that she like probably was a little blindly like just wanted to like get out at any cost, and inadvertently created the next level threat. But it also showed just a beautiful sacrifice when she was like, it is better for me to stay here forever than it is for him to go.
It's great.
So I think like there were just like these little beats where I'm like, man,
that works.
That's good. And I wonder if that's like the sales pitch part, and then they had to like get 45 more minutes of movie or something, and they're just like stretching.
I think the bones of this movie is good.
I just think they could have, I don't know. I don't even, and here I'm going to be honest, like, not because I like was mad about the recasting of it, but like the Cassie thing didn't work for me, that I don't even know if she had to be in this movie.
That's fair.
Like,
they're just setting up Young Avengers. Like
I know, but like there's like a part where he's like in this pocket dimension, and then there's like different versions of himself, and it's like, but we all want Cassie. Like, it's cool, but like, again, I don't like, there wasn't scenes enough for me to connect with this new actress to like make it seem like they were together, apart from, oh, you're the new paid person to be her, I'm Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
You're my daughter that I've known for forever, you know? Like
I wasn't, yeah.
So it just didn't, I don't think they sold the whole, like, Cassie Scott thing for me enough beforehand for it to be, like, the crux of most of the decisions. One thing that I really liked, though, that my wife Kate mentioned was she felt like the trailer was alluding to Kang offering Scott the chance to get those 5 years back that he missed, and that was, like, the decision maker of, like, hey, you might release Kang, but you could maybe have a better relationship with your with your daughter.
With your doctor, yes.
Doctor.
Everyone go your doctor.
Yeah. And that, like, to me, changes the complete, like, that would have been
that's more compelling.
Like, what if Ant-Man does finally mess something up, like, on purpose because he misses her?
Mm-hmm.
But they're, like, again...
Yeah, if she's not in the movie because of the strained relationship, what if that's the offer?
She's a
and then I
because...
believe it more than, like, and, like, Kang's just like, I'm going to kill her over. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awful. But it's also just like...
I have to go into the quantum realm to do it, whatever.
That whole MacGuffin just felt super lazy to me. Like, the whole, like, she makes the thing big, like, and then we have to go into it. And, like, I like the possibilities thing. It's just weird, like, and I also like the whole, like, oh, Cass, we have to do it for Cassie. It's like, okay, I get that. But then, like, my question was, like, I felt off when the Wasp shows up. When it's just like, okay, I guess you're still in this movie. But also, like, then she's like, she already knows to help him with this, but did she even know what he was doing?
So, Michelle Pfeiffer Janet explains what she did to the device. That's how we know.
Yeah.
And so that's how Hope knows to go get to it, because they have to, like, stop it from being created. But they're doing the opposite mission. Mm-hmm. She's like, we can't let him get to this power source. And Scott's like, I have to get to the power source. And ends up like, hey, they've got Cassie. It's like, well, then the plan has changed.
Got it.
So it is explained, yes.
Okay.
But again, it's like, I've got your daughter and I'm the most ruthless. I've destroyed timelines or whatever. Watch me barely hurt your daughter. And he's like, I'll kill you. I get it. Hey, I'm a dad. I get it. Whatever. But I'm just like, oh man, if you could have ripped at, like, there's some really good stuff that you could have done here where, like, I agree with my wife that, like, yeah, have it be that selfish, like, man, I did miss out on so much. And now she's, like, gone down this path of, like, rebellion because she, like, doesn't know how to connect with me. Great. But instead we kind of got this weird, I don't know.
Yeah. I think they had to have her in it because of she's going to be in the next movie. But if she wasn't in it, that would be great. I do want to talk about the ending a little bit. Please. If that's okay. Unless you were on something. No, I was just saying,
Okay, perfect. So fun fact, the entire ending was reshot.
Oh, interesting. Ending how much? Like the punch fight? Or like the whole thing with the ants?
The ending was going to have Kang escape and Scott and Hope still be stuck.
Good.
Which definitely is what even most of that scene looked like it was leading towards.
Oh my gosh, I hated when it's just like this. The portal pops back open. They're like, "Let's go home." It's like, wait.
Correct.
This was supposed to be like a sacrifice.
And I get there would have been a repetition of, oh, classic Ant-Man stuck in the quantum realm again. Mm-hmm. We've already done this. But, like, the line that he says when fighting Kang 5 minutes prior is, I don't have to win. We just both have to lose. Epic line of, like, that's what Avengers do. Yeah. Let's do it. And then he's like, anyway. And then his daughter opens the portal. He's like, well, that worked out. Sick, baby. I'm going to a birthday party. Like, and so I get it's Ant-Man. It's silly, whatever. And I don't know if, like, he had to be, like, locked down there forever. And I know that would have meant that somebody has to, like, go get him. Or, like, Cassie would maybe start on this, like, lifelong journey of, like, figuring out how to get back into the quantum realm because her device got destroyed. But, like,
it just felt too sudden.
You could have done so much cool stuff. Maybe even Kang, like, lives in the quantum realm still with them. But then you, like, have something crazy happen where, like, Kang the Conqueror does break out, but it brings out, like, old man Ant-Man or something. And, like, Paul Rudd shows up and he's just, like, 70 and he's just, like, crazy. And, like, I don't know. You could have just done some crazy stuff because that's what Ant-Man does. And I just felt like that whole thing was, like, immediately, like, that tension was relieved too fast. Yeah. That I was almost like, oh my gosh, like, Ant-Man is about to, like, do some Avenger stuff by himself. Yeah, this is epic. Because the only thing he could do was just not let him escape. Mm-hmm. That's all he could do. And that still allows Kang to be this, like, force to be reckoned with. He just got outsmarted for a split second.
Yeah.
And then he's still powerful. He's still crazy. But instead, it's like, oh, I'm getting sucked into whatever, and maybe I'm dead. It seems like I'm dead. The Kangs say I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
He could still be alive. I don't know. And we just get to escape. And
Yeah,
I'm just like,
it felt like it felt like status quo, no consequences, and it just felt like I agree. Like with them being, I thought they were trapped there, and I loved that. I was like, okay,
Wasp comes back in. You're like, oh no, she's making the sacrifice.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm back with you.
Yeah.
We're gonna probably die
Yes,
together. And you're
yes.
like, let's go. Maybe they do die. Like that might have been okay. Like I not that I like want Ant-Man to die, but like Kang has now
Needs
this
to be a
weird
threat.
scale thing where you're like, well, it depends. One of them can die if one of our Avengers is just okay enough.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if all million of them show up, obviously we're dead. And so it's just like this weird... And I think that it would have been nicer to keep him as like undefeated going into like the Kang dynasty.
Yeah, I don't think we saw the strength of Kang. We saw like, okay, here's a cool guy that can shoot lasers and control things with his mind. But I didn't feel like it was impossible to beat Kang. You just need a bunch of ants and like, sure, whatever. Like that, I don't know. Like one Kang on his own didn't feel right.
It didn't.
There had to be some kind of
And I wish
consequence.
it wasn't this Kang, because I thought we were going to have like Kang the Conqueror be like the leader, or at least like the... Because I know that he can be like outside of time and there's different versions of him, but I didn't think that they were going to full blown do like the council. I thought it was just like, hey, you just punched me. Well, I'm going to go back in time and snap your neck before you punched me.
That's what I thought as well.
That's what he does. Like I exist outside of time.
So having thousands of Kangs feels like, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Like this, if they were going the first route where it's like, oh, I go back in time, and that maybe that's what the Loki scene was kind of hinting
And Loki,
at.
I mean, dude, that's going to be awesome. Like, he's going to be on, like, the ground war for this whole thing of, like, hey, we got to stop him. Let's go through time and maybe figure out where he's at and maybe, like, trim some of these things. Like, I don't know what his plan is, but, like, that's exciting. I'm glad that they did double Kang stuff at the end of this film to set it up. And I love that Loki and freaking Owen Wilson, baby.
On the TV,
Mobius,
on the movie.
Let's go.
Oh.
Well,
Is that his name?
what? Mobius?
Oh, Mobius. I heard Morbius.
Oh, well, if Mobius becomes Morbius,
It's Morbid time, baby.
it's Morbid time, baby. So I am looking forward to like more Kang stuff, but again, it just felt weird that like in Guardians they didn't beat Thanos; they just kept him from getting a stone. But if you would have had like Peter Quill shoot Thanos like in the heart, and it looked like he died, but he like goes off into a ship, I would have been like, that's the guy that's going to come into Infinity War and kick everyone's ass? Doesn't make sense, because if Peter Quill has his gun, we're good.
Yeah.
And I just felt like they've kind of done that now, where it's like, well, but if you just make him, like, just get a device that gets him into the quantum realm and make sure Ant-Man gets you. I know he can't take on all of them, but we got an ant army ready for him. Let's do this, you know? And so it just kind of feels bad that they did that, because now there's just that little, like, he can't quite be as terrifying now.
Yes.
Because, man, that scene would have hit way different if it's like, he's loose, the Kangs are scared that he's loose, but they're also, like, scared that the Avengers can do stuff. So you might be having, like, a rogue Kang coming after you and all the other Kangs. Good luck. That would have been insane.
It just felt like there's no consequences.
No, there wasn't. It was too clean.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but man, the parts that were good, I still liked a lot of these things, and I love what they did with MODOK. I don't think we'll ever see him again. It's totally fine, but I'm glad that he exists in this universe. The way that he did, it was perfect. It was so good. MODOK out of 10.
That's the most confusing thing I've ever heard still.
It's a MODOK out of 10, baby.
People hate it. People
Really?
hate the look of MODOK.
Oh, well. I would love somebody to be like, here's the best version of MODOK. A face with little legs. Listen, he looked so stupid. His eyebrows were so wrong. It's like, he is a floating head in space that has guns.
What else? What do you want?
And the fact that it's even connected to a character that we've
Yeah, that's
previously
great.
known,
Makes
we
it
cannot
somewhat
ask
better.
for any
Yeah.
more. We are so spoiled.
Yeah.
Now, as a spoiled person, I think Ant-Man could have been better.
Anyways, the movie was pretty bad.
I think it's still going to be better. So again, yes, I will still always harken back to what I said before of like, I think this cannot end well, but I do think that they can do better.
Yeah.
There can be this balance of like, I think we have gotten about all that we can ask for, but it doesn't mean that they have to like ruin some of these new things that they're doing that people are getting to experience, you know, and stuff. So
and I think the thing too, like just to come full circle about like I get hard to not compare this to the Thanos arc.
correct.
It's just like I think the footing of where the Infinity War and Endgame had, where like with characters that we really care about and we've been with for a long time, it's hard right now, even though we have like a Thor and a Doctor Strange and Ant-Man that we've been with for quite some time. It's just like if they all got on the screen together, I'm not like, oh yeah, Cap picking up oh my god,
Yeah.
Mew
Mjolnir.
Thank you.
Mew Mew. As
It's
Darcy
just like,
says.
and I'm that's fine that we're never gonna have a moment like that again. I think that's so hard.
I mean, I think we'll have to. Yeah, that's hard to.
But it's just like,
live in that reality, though.
yeah, it's just like even with like the Spider-Man coming together, that was incredible. That was awesome. But I'm not like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just peaked. They probably just peaked.
I think they peaked. I think we're gonna have some fun moments, going forward. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think you're not getting a chance to spend quality time with any of these people like you did before, and they're not kind of like staying together. So like when Civil War happened, you felt it because everybody was accounted for, and then something huge happened. So then when Infinity War started, there was only like 2 characters that we didn't know the whereabouts of, and that's fine because they didn't need to be in that movie. And then you felt all of it. It's like, oh, we have to assemble because guess what? We aren't assembled, but we all knew where everyone was. Right now, I can't tell you where everyone's whereabouts are. It's like Thor's doing stuff with his kid.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel is going to team up with the Marvels, and they're probably going to do space stuff. There's a secret invasion coming with Nick Fury. Like, we've got some really cool things coming down the pipe. I just don't know where anyone is. And so when you tell me when Kang Dynasty starts, and I'm just supposed to believe that like Bruce Banner's been talking to Scott Lang this whole time, it's going to be hard for me because it's like I haven't seen them on screen since the Endgame, and that was like 7 years ago. So it's like, I think maybe these end credit scenes can kind of do like what Shang-Chi did, where it's like, hey, here's kind of like a pseudo Avengers meeting. Captain Marvel, the Hulk, and Wong are kind of like touch and base. I just think we need a lot more of that.
Yeah, I agree.
We need some connective tissue. Yeah. If you're going to keep making these one-offs that are just kind of like splintering everything to eventually come together, we're going to need some places, some touch points. I did see that they officially like got the okay to get Tom Holland for a 4th Spider-Man movie. Sick. And it sounds like he's going to have like a crucial, if not like the lead role in the Avengers films. So that's exciting because I think that could be really cool to see how that plays out. But again, if Ant-Man's like our most knowledgeable guy on Kang, and Kang is the bad guy, what has Ant-Man done to let anyone else know that? And how are we preparing for that? Because Ant-Man and Spider-Man haven't talked to, like, Wong doesn't know about this, even though Wong's kind of like doing his Sorcerer Supreme stuff. So like we really need something that kind of let's get like a pre-assemble movie.
And it can't be King Chronicles, the movie. It can't be
Correct.
like
New York, baby.
And we're all here. Yeah. I saw this on TV, so we're all here. It's like, no. Like, the beauty about Infinity War was like everyone coming together, like Cap coming back on screen, like all his kind of like his side of the Civil War, like the reunification of this. These are just like separate camps of people that kind of know each other, and they're like, oh yeah, there's a big threat, let's go fight it.
Yep.
And it doesn't, like, the connective tissue.
And how does the Eternals even fit into all this? So it's just, and then they're going to do like Blade, and man, it's like, it's a great time to be a Marvel fan, but it is a bad time to feel like in 2 years' time, we're going to have a clear understanding of what the hell's going on.
And I try to equate it for myself to just a comic book run in general. It's like,
yeah, sometimes they do just kind of show up.
I don't need to have Daredevil. I don't need to read all of Daredevil when he shows up in a big thing to be like, oh, where was Daredevil this whole time?
But it would be cool to have a 2-minute scene of maybe Daredevil and Spider-Man actually becoming friends. So when they show up and it's like, hey, Matt, we're friends, instead of like, yes, the Avengers symbol was in the sky and now we're kicking ass. And it's like, no one should know how to fight together.
It's a different medium.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I think Kevin Feige knows this because he's like come out and said like, yo, we kind of went too wide. So we're going to do like 2 shows a year. Sorry for announcing like 20 of them. So I think that'll be good. I do think he also knows that like, here's the 8 story points that are going to happen this phase. And then here's the 20 things we're actually going to do. So I don't think like, it's not like there's not a plan. I think we just knew the plan a lot more concisely for the Infinity Saga. And in the Multiverse Saga, it's hit or miss whether you even need to watch it or not. And I don't think he's making all of the content essential for viewing.
Right.
And so I think that's what makes it confusing is like Jennifer Walters may not actually show up again. She might have just done her thing in She-Hulk and it was super fun and cool and that was it.
Yeah.
And that we might just have to be okay with like, maybe not all of these characters are coming together. Maybe Moon Knight isn't going to show up randomly.
Because the thing is, like, with all the characters before, it's like, I can't wait for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange to interact.
Because they're going to have to eventually get there.
But I'm like, I do not care if whoever
is
Kit
Miss
Harington
Marvel going to
was.
talk to, is Miss Marvel going to talk to
whatever.
Black Knight, who's going to know who Ant-Man is this whole time?
I'm like,
and then the Eternals
do
are there.
not care.
Are they even going to talk to us because they've been here for forever, so they got to know something? It's insane. So I think just a few little scenes to even get like, what if Wong discovers the Eternals? Okay, we got a connection there. So now we kind of got some stuff going on. What if Spider-Man's like, no one knows who I am, but let's use that to my advantage. Let's get the Avengers going, and like I'll just keep my identity secret for the first time in forever, and I'm dealing with that. But I still need to like lead the team because I'm like one of the only Avengers left. There's some stuff that they could do to kind of connect.
There's some good stuff.
So
I think for this moment right now, I actually feel like DC has a good shot of overtaking Marvel.
I do think yes. I think partially for the same reason that I said the Batman was so good. I think if they're truly going to reset the DCU, I think you could see for the next 2 to 3 years just more enjoyment up until Avengers comes out of just being like, man, let's just go enjoy some new stuff. I'm just ready to play with some new toys. Because right now I'm not getting introduced to any of the toys that I want to play with, and I don't know how they're going to do anything with anyone, for sure. And I think James Gunn is very methodical, and I think there's a bright future for DC. So I'm there with you. I will go to them now. Although I did hear that the first viewings of Aquaman 2, people have just like walked out. And it's like whatever. I mean,
I think that's old regime kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. Because this Flash thing is gonna reset.
Are you talking about Shazam 2 or Aquaman 2?
Aquaman 2. Like there's like testing footage because it's. And I've also heard Shazam's like
kind of there
showing up that it's probably gonna have the lowest DC opening ever.
That's tough.
But it's also Shazam. Like I don't know if people like. Give me some Shazam.
I thought Shazam was good.
I think Shazam's great, but I don't think people know that it's like kind of like the Deadpool-y version in DC. Like it's the funny, like self-aware, silly character of the DC universe. So I think people need to check it out. And I think Zachary Levi's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually really excited for the Flash. It looks good, man. That
double
that
the
Super
berry,
Bowl
double
trailer,
the fun.
that Super Bowl trailer, I'm like, dang, dude, that looks good.
Could be good. I'm excited to see how it goes. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited. The fact that we're getting another Rob Pattinson Batman. I know it's not technically connected to anything, but that's also like exciting. Because I would argue that like the best superhero movie to come out since Endgame has been the Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I love No Way Home. That was probably one of the best Marvel movies, like, to like that I have enjoyed just for sheer comic book love.
I think I have 3 good movies that I enjoyed, and it was from the past MCU, and it was Wakanda Forever, it was No Way Home, and it was Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else I could not have watched.
Yep, correct.
At least from an enjoyment level. Like, sure, a major scope theme of the universe. Yeah, sure, I'm glad I watched this, so I actually know what's going on for the 10 minutes that this person's going to be on screen for something. It's like, whatever. I watched it, fine. And I'm going to watch it, and I'm still going to keep complaining, so maybe I'm the problem.
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. No, I'm with you. And like I've said, I think there's got to be an end in sight. I think after Kang, it's going to be interesting to see if there's even a power level beyond that besides like a Galactus. And Galactus is a very good rebooting villain where maybe they finally are like, hey, you know what? This 20-year-old horse is finally ready to be put to sleep.
Wow, that'd be incredible.
Let's call it good, and let's just wipe, and we'll start with a whole new...
Here's an Iron Man.
Yep, or something, like, let's just start over. Let's give another generation stories to see. So I think that's what it is for me. I think it's going to be like the Infinity Saga, the Multiverse Saga, and then I think we're going to get the Cosmic Saga, and then I think it's going to be done, because... after that, it's just going to be really hard to continue to do street-level Spider-Man stuff when Cosmic is introduced.
Right.
So,
do you think it will last to that point?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the money they're making, Disney will make it happen.
Okay.
I think you'll see a dip in shows for a bit, and then I think that'll, they'll find the formula of like, we think it's 3 instead of 5. Okay, that's the sweet spot. And it's still going to churn out like products. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast that it is now. We kind of created that, like we're kind of to blame a little bit. Not that we could really control what was going to happen, but like,
it's your fault, Nick. You did this.
No, I know. But we asked for it and we got it. And now there's too many people who have too many jobs and they got to keep the machine going. So I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. But no, do I think it's going to end better than it began? No, I think the Infinity Saga will be the tried and true. Like that was the golden age. And then now we're in the
experimental phase.
We've been able to, we know that there is a level of success that every movie will have regardless, so we can take some risks, and they have taken some risks. There's also sometimes when they don't seem to risk enough with some of their safer properties, and so that's why it's weird. It's like they're experimental where like it doesn't matter, and they're like not experimental where it does. And Ant-Man's a great example of that, where it's like when it still has to come down to the storytelling, they don't care who they box in, they're going to box someone in. And so the good news and the hope of this, though, is I do think once they finally get to the part with the big bad, it will land. I just think if there's rubble leading up to the big bad, I don't think that hits as hard as like almost perfection leading up to the big bad. Like where we go into like Thanos and we're like, wow, I can only think of like 4 out of the last 20 movies that have actually been like not that great. Yeah. That's insane. But when you're leading up to Kang and you're like, I can only think of 4 movies that I liked
out of the
leading
20.
up to Kang, So I think that will hit a little differently. What I will say though is I do enjoy the villain actually being human, and we'll actually get to like see a portrayal and like character and stuff. So like even though Thanos was great and the CGI was awesome, it is exciting to have like a dude, like a performance that we'll get to like physically see. And just allows you to almost have this level of like, you're a person and you're a person. This guy is infinitely more powerful than you, but that you look like you're on level playing field. And that's what's terrifying. Yeah. When Thanos shows up, you're like, no way. There's no way in hell. It's clearly like this guy's going to kill me. And Kang is just weird in that like he's infinite yet human looking.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
anyway, rant.
No, we did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
You can't spell rant without ant, you know? There
he's done it.
is.
Oh,
Rant-a-mania. Can't spell Ant-Man without Rant-a-mania.
Let's go. That's this episode. Rant-mania.
But yeah, I don't think I don't think the content has stopped us.
I think this has been a very good thing for me to vent over.
Yeah.
And I'm now excited for what's next, because I think I got it off my chest that I was frustrated with this movie and just like the overall production of Disney Plus.
Our therapy worked.
And so I'm like, maybe I'll go watch Ms. Marvel or something.
Perfect.
That's the only thing I haven't watched.
Hey, She-Hulk was super good.
I enjoyed She-Hulk. Yeah, I did enjoy She-Hulk.
But yeah, we're not going to let this hate get to us.
Yeah.
Not us. United.
Boom. See
Goodbye,
you in the quantum realm.
See you in the quantum antiman realm.
You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.